What is going on, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global here, back with another video. And of course, my last video was talking about how the New England Patriots had the Denver versus New England game postponed. That game, of course, was originally supposed to be played on Sunday, and then it got postponed because the New England Patriots had starting cornerback Stephon Gilmore coming down with COVID-19. So what happens? The game gets pushed back one day to a 7:05 game. It was either 7:05 or 5 o'clock game against the Denver Broncos. Again, that would be on Monday. Then today we figure out that the New England Patriots have another active case of coronavirus with one of their players. Now, I'm not going to make an entire video about that just because it doesn't seem like you guys are too interested in getting an entire video about that, especially because it's not a huge piece to the New England Patriots like the other two we've had. Now, this is the fourth case for the New England Patriots player-wise that have had the coronavirus. This time, it is going to be defensive tackle and second-year player Byron Cowart. And like I said, that does bring the New England Patriots total to about 4 players. That is one of the highest in the league right now. Of course, it makes a lot of sense. Look, if you don't know, you don't follow the coronavirus, you don't follow what's going around in the world. Right now, there's a second wave going around. There's a really big wave going around again of the coronavirus. So the amount of cases that are active have heavily picked up. Look at the Tennessee Titans, you would know what I'm talking about. As for the players that have gotten the coronavirus for the New England Patriots, you of course have Cam Newton, you have Stephon Gilmore, you have Byron Cowart, and you have a guy that no one really talks about because he was on the practice squad, but that's defensive tackle Bill Murray. Now, the New England Patriots are not the only team that got their game rescheduled. Many teams did. I mean, we're talking about not just the Patriots and Broncos. I mean, we're talking about the Dolphins, the Jets, the Bills, the Titans. You name it, and multiple teams most likely, like I said, did get their game rescheduled. And a lot of players are upset. Why? Because next week was supposed to be several teams' bye week. I mean, even the Broncos running back in Melvin Gordon went on Twitter and even said, "Ain't no way we practiced all week and they canceled our game." Justin Simmons also said injuries at an all-time high and our bye week was burned up with practices. So by the title also, you can probably tell that the New England Patriots currently are going through their bye week. In fact, they probably just finished their bye week. The New England Patriots were expected to have a week 6 bye week that was going to be right before they faced the 49ers for week 7, and it was going to be right after they faced the Denver Broncos in week 5. Now, instead of that happening, the New England Patriots next Sunday, a week from today, are going to be facing the Denver Broncos at a 1 o'clock game, and then that's it. They just continue the rest of their season. There was going to be no bye week because the game just kept getting rescheduled due to the coronavirus, due to the many active cases that the New England Patriots just continuously were having, and it kept having to get pushed back. The NFL just kind of said, all right, well, this team has a bye week that week. This team also has that same week for their bye. They started to reschedule pretty much all of the schedule for the entirety of the NFL and basically took away a bye week for several teams, the Broncos, the Patriots, and then, of course, the other teams that had a week 6 bye week. And, of course, this is big for the New England Patriots. This is, of course, big for all the teams that we're specifically talking about, the New England Patriots. And that's because they didn't get a full bye week. They didn't get a true bye week at that. The New England Patriots played this week that the NFL is trying to use as their bye week as practices. Now, they didn't get to practice all that much because of Corona. There was a lot of times that the facility was shut down, but they weren't able to truly use it as their bye week. You know, the players weren't able to use it to rest up, to rejuvenate, to be able to just relax for the bye week that they had. And then, of course, next week, of course, that being starting Monday, they do have to start their practice because they didn't get all of those practices in last week. So essentially, this team is not getting an actual bye week. And like Justin Simmons said in his tweet, with all of these injuries happening, these big injuries happening, especially to the big name players, and you're just burning up their bye week, how is that going to help these players? I mean, they're going to be burned out midway through this season. I mean, NFL, you have this bye week for a reason, and you're essentially just taking it away from them. The NFL is also proposing a potential Week 18 4 games that have to get postponed and canceled and whatnot. So if you're going to do that, this is when you should have, decided, okay, we're going to do that, because you switched up all of the 32 NFL teams' schedules in order to move things around for the amount of games that had to be rescheduled, and you're taking away bye weeks that are extremely important. I mean, you have guys that are strictly business for all the way from when, the offseason program starts all the way till the end of the season. That's times they don't really get to see their family and whatnot. And that is the week that these guys are usually going back to their families and spending some quality time before they have to get back to football. That's another thing you're taking away now. And I think it's interesting, though, because the Broncos head coach, Vic Fangio, actually said that he's kind of happy that this happened because he is able to see who the whiners are within the Broncos organization, who the guys are that are strictly going to come in here, do their job, and move on with life and not use the excuse, and guys who are just going to whine around and try to use it as an excuse. And he even said, and I quote, guys who can't handle adversity. Now, in a way, this also definitely does help out both teams here. This helps out the Denver Broncos, and this helps out the New England Patriots, all in a sense of getting players back for next week's matchup. It, of course, doesn't help them in the long run, especially because if this Patriots team does end up going to the playoffs, let's remember that with the new NFL rule, only one team from each side, each from the AFC and NFC, only get that bye week. So essentially each conference. So really, this team is just not going to get a break. But this is an extra week where, Cam Newton is able to get healthy and potentially come back. I think that his odds definitely do skyrocket to being able to play. As for Stephon Gilmore, there was no way that he was going to be playing against the Denver Broncos. Now, it's definitely not a high chance that he plays, but there definitely is that possibility depending on how he progresses with the virus over the next few days. And then on the opposite side of things, the Denver Broncos are dealing with several injuries. Phillip Lindsay, a guy who probably was not going to play for this team, he could be a guy that potentially is able to play now. Drew Lock is a guy that started to come back to practice the week that the Patriots were supposed to play the Denver Broncos. I think it would have been a little bit of a push for him to play that game. But now that it's a week later, I think that Drew Lock does have a very good chance at making his NFL comeback since being injured against the New England Patriots. And that is a big addition there for the Denver Broncos at quarterback. You also have their starting tight end in Noah Fant, who is a big piece for them in Drew Lock, who was also most likely out against the Patriots. He wasn't a limited participant during practice. He was mostly a did not practice player, but I'm curious to see how things will go this week now that he has, again, an extra week to be able to get healthy and potentially play this game. So definitely a lot of things happened here today. It's going to be really interesting to see how the rest of this year pans out, just because they really messed up not giving this team a bye week. I think there's something they could have figured out again, even moving this to week 18, just something they could have done in order to give this team the break they need. With COVID going around, with all these injuries going around, with literally no offseason, and forcing these players to just jump back into football suddenly, not giving them this bye week is just going to be a horrendous blow for all teams that had a week 6 bye. But that is going to be it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on, 1, Byron Cowart and the New England Patriots having another case of corona, 2, the game being postponed for a second time, and 3, the New England Patriots not having essentially a bye week this season? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Remember to give this video a big thumbs up if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. Like always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in my next video.